We turn our attention back to X30 Senior. Very busy weekend for X30 Senior. They've been through...
Well, good to hear from Clement Utron, starting this one on pole position. Henki Kaltrin goes from the front row as well, starting alongside Mattis Majout and Danny Carinini, second in the championship here. Andrew has got a really strong opportunity to gain some places. Lewis Mackey and Marcus Glumrand out row 3. They'll have Vilma Svan and Eloy Gonzalez on row 4. Roxanne Lantinga, who has really impressed over the course of this weekend, will have Riccardo Ferrari starting alongside, and Ferrari has chosen to go for a brand new set of tyres on the left-hand side. Eddie Goldstein and Otto Pukkanen round out row 6. They'll have Mark Lepiccolo and Milan Marjak on row 7. Q.O. Lee and Fred Green go from row 8. They'll have Laurent Sash and Annabelle Briand on row 9, with Austin Gale and Joseph Smith rounding out the top 10 rows in P20.
Hugo Gelate has some good pace this weekend. Starts on row 11 alongside Cal Clark. Row 12, Alexi Constant and George Nassar. Row 13, Maxime Blanchemont and Louis Esser. Mark Granada and Morgan Moore will start on the 14th row of the grid. Completing the top 30, it's Enzo Menendez and Charlie Gloom. Row 16, Thomas Van Vliet and Robbie Buckley. Row 17, and David Dragan. It's a 36-kart field, the biggest one that we've seen so far this weekend, and it's completed by row 18, Luca Bertoni and Luca Montebello.
Wind direction has changed. It's a tailwind down the main straight now, so that will help out with drivers behind. It won't help out with the slipstream, though. Grandstand, look at that, filling up massively there. Everyone looking forward to watching the first senior superheat of the day. And like we say, I'm sure any Italian fans watching are crossing everything they can, fingers, toes, for Danny Carinini in this one. And again, second in the championship, his championship rival, Finn McLaughlin. It is still doable for Finn. He's got the support from family and friends here this weekend, but he's got a lot of work ahead of him in that second superheat later on. But eyes will be on that Italian in P4 in this race. We enter now the last corner into the tram lines. We wait for the lights to go out. Clement Utron and Henki Kaltrin on the front row of the grid. We are green and racing, and it's a lightning start for Utron and Majout, who hold on to the lead. There you can see there's a spin in the mid-pack there. It's a half spin, and some drivers have taken to the grass. Unfortunately, going well backwards there is Endo Menendez from 29th place. He's cut half the track, and unfortunately, he'll have to give up all those places.
Well, indeed, it was Vilma Svan who had a big sideways moment into turn number 2 and did very well to hold on to it. There's more dramas towards the back of the field. One of the crop promotions
Vilma Svan.
Vilma Svan is going to be out of this one. There is the 423, as mentioned, Menendez going back into a proper position to avoid any trouble, any callings from the race officials. But that was a bit of a tense start for a number of drivers. I think a few of them out there wanting to attack in the early stage of this race. Carinini, I think it's down to around 6th place. This is not the start that the Italian would have wanted, and that's not good for him either, because that's one of the TBs down the inside. I think it was that Ellie Goldstein coming through. Yes, it was. So Goldstein up to 6th place. Carinini has got a lot of work to do here.
There's Roxanne Lantinga getting through down the inside, but Mark Lepiccolo denying that one. Riccardo Ferrari getting through now as well, as they all chop and change. There is Q.O. Lee trying to gain those positions also, and then you can see the Falcon trying to get past as well. That's Laurent Sash from Denmark also trying to get involved. Q.O. Lee looks to the inside of Roxanne Lantinga, gets that move complete as we go on board here, down in towards turn number 7 with Roxanne Lantinga. And again, look at the pace that they've got here as they go through the physicality of driving these senior karts. You can still see there's quite a bit of tread left on that front tyre, so plenty of traction left for pretty much a lot of the drivers. But crucially at the front here, Clement Utron still leads the way from Henki Kaltrin. That's still the case. Mattis Majout still there in 3rd, and it's trying to communicate there, just saying, right, keep going, don't worry about defending. Let's try and close that gap. But that's a huge lunge there from Mattis Majout, and he said thank you. I think it was a kind of sorry. I didn't even expect that was going to happen.
That was... Yeah, I think Majout, that was another one of the unorthodox ones that'll go in the file this weekend. It's one of those, he got deep on the brakes, had enough grip to get to the inside. A little tap on the head now to say, let's think about this. Clement Utron has been really strong this weekend. In terms of checkered flags, he's taken it first 5 times, but he lost one of those wins because of a penalty for going a little bit too early after a slow procedure in round number 5, but has really looked on top form so far this weekend. There's an RSD rocket ship out there as well, Anthony, because I've just noted that Thomas van Vliet, the 244, is getting 18 positions in the space of 2 to 3 laps. That is a magnificent start. He's going to need a really, really big result and a lot of things to happen to make the top 36 cut off of the final, because he started all the way back on row 16. You've got to give him props for trying. That is a tremendous run through the field. Yeah,
and looking at my data as well, is that he's not actually got fresh tyres on there either, so that's all done on some used tyres, so that's absolutely fantastic. Matthias Michaud now with the fastest lap of the race. That car also looking very quick. The KCR Racing team certainly developing a great package for their drivers this weekend, and you can see him closing in on Clément Outron. Mackie down the inside of Calterin as he moves up now into 3rd place. And again, Lewis Mackie wild card in this. He's not spannering for his younger brother Harrison. He's not racing, so he's got a free weekend to go for it. And like you say, he's been out the cut for 2 years, and he's delivering here nicely. Down the inside there is, I think, Marcus Glum gaining another place there as well. But I think he just stays behind. Goldstein's just behind. And now he goes down the inside. That's Marcus Glum up into P4.
Yeah, good run this weekend for Marcus Glum. For Henke Calton, this will be a bit of a concern now. He's slipping backwards in this superheat. Was running well in preparations here 1 week ago in IAME Series Benelux. Was on the podium along with Ellie Goldstein and Ian Eichmans 7 days ago. Here on lap number 5, longest race of the weekend so far for these. Gio Lee has just gone purple through sector number 1, so keep an eye on the driver from South Korea to be moving through the order. Joseph Smith has just taken 21st place away from Annabelle Briand. Smith needing a decent result here because he's on the outside of the top 36 after last night's results. So again, needs to move forward. I would imagine get into the top 15. Top 10 really to nicely secure a position in that race later on this afternoon. Morgan Moore also improving through the field, is up 7 spots, although just as I say that, make that 5 spots back down to 23rd. Mark Granada also having a good run. It's up 10 spots, into 17th.
Certainly is. Keeping an eye on this battle. Here's the look on board. Roxanne Tinga at turn number 6. What happened here? Oh, concertina effect. One into the other into the other.
Yeah, that was it. That was earlier in the race.
Just had to click that front nose going off the wheel there. So we'll have to be careful with that one. Because that's a risky move to try and do.
Yes, it is. Roxanne Lanting is still in this race in 10th place, and yeah, that was on the first or second lap. Danny Caronini looking quite frustrated at the front of all of that as well. And at the moment, still only in 7th place. And well, we've been wondering, haven't we, mate, about whether Danny Caronini's been holding back for Sunday, because across the course of the season, he's had very good Saturdays and good superheats as well. The amount of points that he can gain in this part of the competition is actually quite small. He needs the big turnarounds in the finals. To do that, he needs to be at the front of the grid.
He does.
We were expecting him to go well in this race, to get himself up the order, and it's just not happening at the moment for Caronini. The pace is decent, but 7th place, well, I don't think in terms of the championship that's going to do it all right now.
No, maybe not, but we'll keep an eye on that. The only thing we can say about it is that now he's got his rear gunner in the form of Riccardo Ferrari right behind him, so maybe they can work as a duo. Try and push up to the battle in front. We just saw there Lewis Mackie going for the move down the inside of Matthias Michaud. Now into 2nd place. Now this would be Lewis Mackie's best results. I nearly called him Harrison there. This would be Lewis Mackie's best result of the weekend. His best results yesterday, 3rd place. And again, I'm going to call it. He's a wild card in this one. He's my wild card for a final win.
Yeah, he's looking really, really good. He's got himself back in the rhythm. You know, you never are at 100% fitness in terms of what the mind's doing in racecraft when you jump back in after a while away. But this is the sign of how good Lewis Mackie is, because it's taken him less than a weekend to get right back on form. There's an investigation flag underway regarding Roxanne Lantinga for the 430. I wonder if that's going to be anything to do with what we saw on the onboard camera. We'll report news in due course. We're into the second half of this one. But yeah, Lewis Mackie has been it's been brilliant to have him back, brilliant to see him race. It's testament to the work that he's done as a mechanic this year that he's able to race this weekend. And yeah, I fully agree. He is going to be one to watch throughout the course of the rest of this race and that final. And he's going to be up on the top 10, I reckon, with this kind of result. Maybe even better, depending on how things go in Super 2.
Yeah, exactly that. Well, Utron is not broken away. He's not been one of those, yeah, I've got to the front and I'm just going to drive off from everyone else, because Mackey's still there and only 4 tenths behind at the moment. Michel still in close company there. Well, I think, is that a frustrated Carinini? I think it was. I think, yeah, Goldstein's just ahead. And, you know, Goldstein's being an ultimate rear gunner here for Clement Utron as well, because Goldstein, not a wild card, but was missed out in the last 2 rounds of the championship, was entered into the first one at Zuera, so is in this one. It's just taken a big break from the championship, but it's back now for this one. Certainly going to be a thorn in the side of many drivers.
Is indeed.
But,
and
he's got through.
He's got through. So Carinini up to 6th place. He's still got time here to chase up and get back into that top 5, especially if these drivers start fighting. Utron's looking comfortable right now. His pace around this place has been fantastic across the course of the last few weekends. There's a scrap going on here. This is Lee and Ferrari, and Lee is through. Hal Clark looks to be out of this race. That will be the end of the weekend, unfortunately, for Clark, because he was already on the outside of the top 36 before this race in terms of IC. He's just pulled into the pits in front of us here in the commentary box. End of lap number 10. 4 to go. Utron, Mackie, Meerschout, Gloom, Calton. That's your top 5. Carinini trying to close in there. The gap is around 6.5 tenths right now. It's Keo Lee who's got some really good pace at this stage of the race, Anthony. He's going to be closing in potentially the driver second in the championship. Yeah, exactly that. Well, we'll keep an eye on these battles closing in as Fred Green sets the fastest lap of the race, currently sitting in P12 right now behind Otto Pukkanen. Well, now in fact just ahead of Otto Pukkanen, has moved up into 11th place of this race. Like we've been saying, for all of these drivers, this final we're expecting to have immense fireworks, not actual fireworks, wasn't in the budget, but in terms of fireworks on track, 100% we're going to have some massive racing, aren't we? Oh yeah, it's still going to be open. It's still going to be undecided. For it's going to be a reduced number of drivers, we reckon. It was 5 at the start of the weekend. It's more than likely going to be between McLaughlin, Carinini and Luzio. But yeah, they've all got opportunities to gain a lot of points in the final when we get onto it later today. And of course, we've still got the superheat for McLaughlin and Luzio. We shouldn't forget about that. That's more like it from Danny Carinini. He's just done a 54.642. He's got a bit of help from behind now. In fact, he's got through. So he's got through past Henki Kaltunen. This is starting to look better for Carinini. The trouble is, he's only got 2.5 laps to find his way past Klum, Meerschout and anybody else he can overtake out there. Yeah, certainly so. That's how he did it, down the inside through turn number 6. And again, nicely done there. And Henki Kaltunen's not going to battle it. And there, the communication saying, let's work together, let's go through. And already he's opened up a gap, so he's driven away from Kaltunen. So Kaltunen's not going to be able to pile on the pressure. We could still see a good fight here. Could indeed. 2 laps of this one to go. Further down the order, David Dragan's had a really good race. He's up 19 places in the Zanki Motorsport 245. He's going to be a little bit too far down the final intermediate classification to make it through, but a strong end to the weekend for the Romanian. Thomas Van Vleet has continued to hold himself up there in the top half. In 16th, he's another one of your big movers in this one. 20 positions now for David Dragan. So we're having a look at Matthias Meerschout there in 3rd place. And could very well be on the 2nd or 3rd row of the grid for the final. Another dark horse, you would say. One of the home favourites here, racing for KCR Racing. They've had a strong weekend. On to the final lap then. Clement Utron has looked pretty untroubled in this race. This has been a very, very impressive performance, not just in this one, but the whole weekend. Clement Utron at the moment looking invincible.
He certainly is. He's going to be the one to beat going into that final, and he's certainly going to shake up those championship standings. Mackie here, though, in second place. This would be his best result of the weekend, so I suspect he's going to try and hold on to it for as long as he can. Michaud is there in third place, not close enough for an attack just yet, and crucially, Mackie's not going to go defensive either, and that will really scupper Matis Michaud's attempt at trying to get this one. Marcus Glum has impressed. 2 places gained. He's put himself up into P4, but eyes, like you're saying, focusing on a man here who's had a near-perfect weekend. Clement Outron. What a weekend so far. He can push his way forward. He can smile under that helmet as he looks to be starting on pole for that final later on today. Clement Outron takes the win ahead of Lewis Mackie and Matthias Michaud, who rounds out the top 3. Glum finishing in P4 with Danny Caronini second in the championship. He recovers. He recovers back to 5th. And that's not too bad.
Not too bad. The trouble is, I don't think he's going to have overhauled either of the 3 drivers ahead of him in the IC, those being Michaud, Caltrin and Outron, even finishing ahead of Caltrin. He's only beaten him by 1 position. I don't think that's going to be enough to overhaul. I think he'll have held ahead of Mackie. But only just. So, yeah, more work for Caronini to do in the final. It'll be 1 race to decide who is going to be series winner for 2024. We do know, though, that Clement Outron is going to start that final from pole position. The great run that he's had this weekend continues, but there's going to be a little bit of nervousness, perhaps. He's not been in this position before in previous rounds of the season. What can he do? Can he keep calm? I think calm being at the wheel is what's going to be key for Outron as the pressure rises in that final. There is your provisional results. Outron, Mackie, Michaud, Glum and Caronini, your top 5. Caltrin, Lee, Ferrari, Goldstein and Lantinga. We'll see all of those drivers in the final later on today. Difficulties, though, a number of these drivers you're seeing in the second half of the order will not make it through.
No, certainly so. A very tough one for the second half of the field, though. Their 16th place downwards is Lauret Sash, Ella Gonzalez, Milan Marzak from Annabelle Briand,